Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. My name is Praba Manivasager, President of Cache Software. Couple of things, housekeeping things. Your best experience is to maximize the screen so that you can see the full screen and have the full screen effect. Second, if you have questions, there is a question dialog. Please send in your questions while we are talking, and then we will answer questions at the end of the presentation. Third, all microphones are muted except those that are speaking. That's myself and Peter here in the office. Sit back and enjoy the webinar. Great, let's get started. First of all, thank you all for joining us today for this momentous occasion. Your time is valuable. I know that you have a lot to deal with during these trying times. I hope you and your family stay safe and come out of this unscathed. Having said that, we appreciate that you've chosen to join us today on this webinar. We want to make sure that we maximize your valuable time. With that said, I'm going to jump right in. First and foremost, we at Cache have been waiting for this moment for over 3 years. Today, we are unveiling our brand new platform, Pavilion. 18 months of hard work, 15 years of lessons learned, contributions by many of you who have given us a lot of good advice and pointed us in the right direction when we needed to, and relentless research and attention to detail by the team that has brought the big team that has brought us to today. I would be remiss if I don't mention our partner in India, TechWave, who has gone above and beyond to make this dream a reality. Thank you, TechWave team. You guys have done a tremendous job. I'm immensely proud of what we've built, and I'm very thankful for the team that has pulled this off. A Herculean task that that's done in a compressed time frame, filled with loads of valuable tools and things that we didn't imagine we could get done in this short time frame. I consider this just the beginning to an exciting journey for Cache Software, as we will be adding and growing this platform to support those in need. So let's dive right into our agenda today. So today, you're going to see a true end-to-end platform in action, one that has been built with a lot of care, has been put together in a way that no one has imagined before, and one that works very well for an agency like yours. But the biggest thing I probably want to highlight is that the platform was built with the person served in the middle of it. This concept is new. This concept is new because 15 years ago, the idea of having a person-served platform was just evolving, and by which time a lot of platforms were already in place. But we started building this recently and have incorporated a lot of the person-centered concepts that we believe a platform should have so that we can serve the people. Third, and the most important thing I would like you to take away from this is a platform should actually think on your behalf and do things on your behalf without you having to do it. This concept of a platform that is thinking for you and being proactive is a concept that is new, and we've put a lot of thought into that, and we're going to show you what that looks like. But before we dive in, let's take a step back. Many of you are current customers of ours who use the platform on a daily basis. It's a lot of work that over the 15 years, we have put many layers of paint on this existing platform, things that we have taken as suggestions from you. We've added on top of things. We've released multiple versions over the last 3 years. But ultimately, the purpose of the platform was one thing, and that is billing services. And it was ultimately just providing billing capability so that you can be reimbursed for the services you provide. But today, things have changed. Things have changed in many ways. The concept of person-centered thinking has evolved over the last 15, 20 years and is blossoming. The way you serve people is different. The way you get reimbursed is different. The caregiver shortage has affected many of you. and continues to. These are trying times. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, but the needs of an agency today are different than it was 15 years ago, and we recognize that. And that's the reason 18 months ago we started this project. 18 months ago we said we need to reimagine what a platform should look like, throw away everything we've heard and bring with us the lessons learned, but start from scratch. Start from scratch with nothing other than a whiteboard and some markers and say, what would a platform look like if we had to build it from the ground up? How would we design it so that it would come together in a way that would serve agencies? And for that, we needed some guiding principles. The guiding principles is what is the foundation of the platform we've built. The guiding principles are what we believe was necessary for us to go build something without focusing on the technical aspect of a platform. The technical aspect is easy. Everybody can write software, but writing software that means something is very different. Writing software that serves people and puts the person served in the middle of this platform is different, it's unique, and it's necessary. So we started out by saying, you know what, we got to have some philosophical and technical guidelines. The philosophical guideline was, we are here to serve the people in need, and therefore we're going to put them in the middle. And then we're going to build this platform that is going to help them have a much better quality of life. And having a quality of life meant everybody who touches that person has to have a way of interacting that we understood and we were able to respond to and provide tools and capabilities that really help that person be successful. And that was something that was the cornerstone of this platform, and that's what was important. The person served and the person delivering service, they have to be the ones that we write the platform for, and the rest of it is details. How billing gets done, how payroll is generated, all these are tactical things. They're necessary, they're tactical things, but ultimately they are things that can happen. But if we don't have empathy for the person who uses the software, then we don't have the good understanding, and we never get the opportunity to step in their shoes. So what we did was we said, let's step in their shoes and write a platform that those people who use it on a day in, day out basis can use it without it being difficult, and use it and find ways to save time so that they can provide better care. Now, that meant there are several other things we had to do. On a technical aspect, we wanted to create a platform that required no manual. And this is not an easy thing to do. Creating a platform that doesn't require a manual meant that we have to make it as intuitive as possible. And we went to great lengths to make this possible. And we've done a variety of things that we could have probably taken the shortcut and dropped the platform in and made it work, and that was available for billing. In fact, one of my customers said, hey, why is it going to take you so long? Why can't you just build something in 6 months? I know we could. I said, yes, I could. I probably could do it in 4 months, but that would not produce the kind of result that we were setting out to do, and that was have a game-changing platform that is going to change this industry. And we had to build something that was going to automate and streamline your business, which meant many of you got into this business because you're caregivers. Many of you got into this business because you're in social services. Many of you got into the business because you want to help others. Running a business was not what your first thought was. Inevitably, you realize you found yourself in the middle of having to do payroll and having to do billing and make ends meet while all you cared about was caring for people. Well, how are you going to do that if you can? How are you going to do that if it is something that requires do we have some feedback on there? Well, I'm going to keep going here, and we'll have Christine see if she can. All right, sounds good. So sorry about the technical difficulty. We're back online. And as I was saying, This is really about helping you run a business, about streamlining the business, making sure that you have the tools necessary, and then being capable to evolve with the industry. The industry is going to change. Your needs are going to change. The agencies and the services that are needed to serve people are going to change. So we had to build a platform that will evolve with us as the industry changed. These were the guiding principles. And when we got done and when we wrote up a white wall after wall after wall of information and diagrams and everything, at the end of the day, what we came out with was Pavilion. And Pavilion is by far the most it's the proudest thing that I've worked on. It has more meaning to me than anything else I've done in my career, and I believe that this is something that is going to touch millions of lives, and that's our intent, and that's what we're setting out to do. So, what is Pavilion? Well, first of all, for agencies, it is an all-in-one technology solution that runs your business. For caregivers, less paperwork and more time to serve. And for care recipients, it is all about being at the center of everything, and the technology, the people, all of them come together to have this beautiful experience where ultimately the person receiving care is going to get better care. Being person-centered is not a new concept. It's been talked about. People in this industry understand it so well. It is a capability that has evolved over time, and there's a lot of thought that has gone into this. And being person-centered really is truly having the person being served at the center of everything, as well as catering to their needs in ways that that others haven't imagined before. And being person-centered is something that social service people in the industry understand, but technologists have failed to understand in the past. And so we wanted to make sure that when we said we put the person served in the center, we really meant that, which really comes back to how does a social service, a social worker work with that person? How is the agency provider interacting with that person and taking care of? What does the medical team do? How does the family or the guardian have access to this person and their information, and how do they care for them? And all of these require tools and technologies that can make their life easier. And that's what we built, the components that are necessary to make this possible, so that those in that inner circle can provide the best type of care for that person in the middle. And be it the electronic medical record so that you have all the information and you can stay compliant, be it the workforce management tool so that you can hire and retain and pay people, or EVV has come up, and EVV is necessary, and there are things that we need to do to make sure that that the data is captured and we are complying by federal laws. And there are many other things. We've built an API gateway that allows us to connect to hospital systems and anybody else on the outside so that they can access information and we can share information. All of this built right into the platform so that it's possible. And after working through all of that, what we realized is we've touched many of these pieces that are necessary. We brought together this all-in-one system that allows an agency to be successful. I've done a lot of talking. Let's actually jump right into what the best part of the webinar today is, and that is to see the platform in action. And today with me, I have Peter. Peter is going to be helping me out. Peter, say hi.
Hello.
Peter is the product manager and is intimately familiar with the platform. And while I'm going through and discussing what the tool and the platform can do, Peter is going to be driving the system. So let's get started. So first of all, this, for all of you who have used Cache and are familiar with it, this doesn't look anything like what we have today. This is a cleaner, better organized, a visually appealing platform that that uses some of the latest in UI and UX design. And for for the geek in me and the others, this is responsive, works on any platform, any footprint out there, your tablet, your a phone, or your PC, doesn't really matter. And all the technology behind it is, and we're going to do a separate webinar on the inner workings on Pavilion, and that's for those who are technically inclined and want to understand how all the bits and pieces work together. But today we're going to talk about how providing care in a person-centered manner is built from the person outward. And so let's start with a client. Here's a client, Marjorie. Marjorie, all of Marjorie's information is in one place. You can start with her general information. Here is basic information about Marjorie. And if you go into contacts, here are all the necessary information. This is the team that works with it. In this case, there's an emergency contact, and you can have multiple different contacts added to this. You can have additional information. In this particular case, you get to decide what fields, custom fields you want to add, and you can have as many custom fields as you want, and it's unlimited, and it's specific to your agency, and you can keep all that information, anything that you feel is necessary for providing better care for Marjorie. Let's also look at documents. Here is the ability to generate just about any document you want. We have a list of a few examples here, but the idea is you can put together a PDF document, and you can map that PDF document yourself, pull any data out of the system and populate it into the PDF, and all that is within your control. And in this example, Peter, can you pull up the reassessment form, please? The reassessment form is auto-filled with Marjorie's information, and now you can take this, you can sign it, you can send it, you can fax it, you can print it, do whatever you want with it. So the ability to manage any document, whether it is a PDF, it's scanned, uploaded, doesn't matter. All of Marjorie's documents will reside here. And finally, many of you have asked for this capability. How do I know who went into the platform and made what change? Because, you know, that somebody made an error and there's some compliance issues. Well, in this platform, every change that's made to the system for any record is recorded. What changed, who changed it, when was it changed, what was the old value and what was the new value, and at any given point you can trace this back and find out what changes were made. This type of capability you can only build in if you build it from the ground up, and that's what we did. From the ground up, we designed an audit system that allows us to have all the information tracked and maintained. So here's Marjorie, and let's take a look at a care plan for Marjorie. So here's a care plan. Now, there are various care plan formats that are out there. DHS has a format, but ultimately the information that's captured is what's necessary. So here are some ADLs. Let's look at the ADLs. The information, where the activities that are there, the days that the service needs to be provided, the instructions that are needed. And by the way, all this information is available on the mobile app, the EVV mobile app, so that the caregiver, when they walk into the house, know exactly what services are to be provided. And if there was a new caregiver to walk in to backfill a current caregiver, they would have all this information, and it's directly tied to the care plan. And you cannot provide services outside of what's in the care plan, and you record time against the services that are provided. Let's take a look at medication, and all the diagnosis codes. The medication is connected to a external database that's updated on a daily basis. So this is not just a database of medications we have here. It is a nationally used service, and that's where we pull all the medications, the allergies, and the physicians, of course, come from a physician database that is updated on a regular basis. So all of this information is systematized as opposed to being this free-flowing information. So we have the care plan here. Let's take a look at, now that Marjorie has a care plan, okay, obviously Marjorie also has a service agreement. So let's take a look at what Marjorie's service agreement is. And this is an area that's required some extra thinking and some extra effort. And this is an area we invested some time in, because within Cache, on an annual basis, we handle about 200,000 service agreements. And out of the 200,000 service agreements, we found that many of the challenges, the errors that come up, the denials that come up, is a result of about 20% of the service agreement mistakes that people make keying in information. So we said, look, we got to do this better. We got to find a way to automate the service agreement process. So we went to DHS and we said, hey, can we work with you to build out a service agreement capability so that they could send us the service agreement information in sort of an EDI exchange format. The result was they said, yes, we can, but it's going to take us about 2 to 3 years to do it. So we said, you know what, we're not going to wait for that. The TechWave team, over a 1-week period, went out and built this utility. Essentially means that Peter, can you show everyone what a service agreement looks like, please? So here's a sample service agreement. Here is what you would get for a T1019 PCA service agreement. Now, Peter, let's switch over to the platform and let's upload this service agreement. So let's go find that service agreement in your list, pick that up, let's choose that, and let's upload that service agreement. And wow, here it is. The service agreement details get populated into the service agreement tab, and all that detail is automatically transferred. For agencies that have 500 clients, that is a good 60 service agreements on a rotating basis you're going to run into, that you have to add on a monthly basis. And imagine if you could do this and eliminate all the errors. And the system is designed to absorb this information and then give you an option to compare a paper service agreement and what's gone in, so that you can adjust it if you want it, verify the information. But ultimately, click on the diagnosis code. Does it pull up the diagnosis code on this one? The line items, it's already pulled. Okay, we moved on to that one. Okay, great. Let's so this information is automatically brought into the client's profile and simplifies the whole service agreement process. So good. So we got a care plan, we got a service agreement. Now let's look at how we assign a caregiver. So let's go through and we're going to assign a caregiver for Marjorie. Let's see who's in our list of available caregivers. Here's one person. Let's add that person, and there you go. Now you've assigned a caregiver for Marjorie. Well, now that this caregiver has been assigned, let's say they're providing service and one of the caregivers calls up and says, hey, listen, Ada, let's say Ada calls up and says, listen, I am unable to provide service on the 20th. I have a doctor's appointment, I'm not going to be able to make it. Oh, okay. Well, let's see what can we do to facilitate another caregiver providing service. One of the other things that we've built into the platform is the ability to match caregiver need to match client need to caregiver's capability. So both the client and the caregiver together have provided what their preferences are, and the system, can you click on one plus sign, please? Can the system matches the preferences and shows up a list saying, hey, here is a full match of 5 things that the client needed and the 5 things that the caregiver has, and therefore we're going to select this caregiver and replace Ada with Chinda for that day. This matching capability allows for large agencies that are required to staff clients in finding caregivers in this environment of workforce shortage and turnover. The schedules are going to change, and you want an easy way to manage this. And when you make this change, the client gets a notification saying that there's a new caregiver coming, and the caregiver gets a notification in the app saying that, hey, here's your new scheduled appointment to go visit Marjorie at 12:15 on the 20th. So very good. So now we've got a caregiver, and you've been providing service for a couple of weeks, and let's look at what managing time and approving visits looks like. So in today's world, well, EVV is a reality, but we don't know the timeline yet. It could be Jan 1, 2021, but by the looks of it, Minnesota is going to push it out, and that's the information that we have is that that's going to get delayed to a certain extent. Not sure how much, but it's going to get delayed. But let's assume that you've chosen to electronically capture time information. And so if a caregiver is going in and recording start and stop time and is providing a visit record, is recording a visit, and that visit record comes and shows up in your dashboard here, that information automatically comes to this location right here. And what you get to see is a couple of different things. First of all, if a visit record comes through, and let's say, for example, in this particular case, it's a late check-in, late clock-in. So if it is not a big deal, they were late by 15, 20 minutes, and you know that was going to happen, no problem. Go ahead and approve that record and make that a finalized record. And great. Move that on. And now you may also have some records that are incomplete. Say, for example, Ada finished and signed a timesheet, but unfortunately, Marjorie hasn't signed off on the timesheet yet. You can then, by the way, the system has this internal messaging system so that you can use the internal messaging system to send a message to Marjorie saying, hey, Marjorie, Ada's timesheets is completed. Can you please sign it before the end of the day? And this message goes to Marjorie. Now, we understand that certain clients may or may not have EVV capabilities, but this is just one method that we are showing that you can have all the internal communications managed within the platform. And Pavilion has this end-to-end encrypted messaging system between clients, employees that are working internally, as well as caregivers, and everybody can communicate within the platform, and all that information is kept within the platform. So once all these timesheets are finalized, you may also now have some paper timesheets. And these paper timesheets, well, let's face it, you know, many of our customers are still on paper. We have several that have moved to EVV, but many of them are still on paper. If it's a paper timesheet, let's say for a 1 week period, let's say for Marjorie and Ada, let's go through and enter some time. And by the way, you can also look at the service agreement, all the details of the service agreement at the time. It tells you how many units are remaining and other information pertaining to the service agreement. All that is real time as of when the data was captured. And you can say, let's add time. In this case, if all the time is as it is, you can just tab through it, just like you would. Everybody's familiar with scheduler and how you can enter time, but very similar, but we have simplified things here, and you can go through and let's say everything is good, tab, 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 and you can select all the records and say finalize. And that sends all of Marjorie's time. So like, we may have a caregiver role not assigned. Okay, we can cancel out of that. Let's go over to, after time has been approved, let's go over to how we bill. Now, this is an area where I think we've probably spent an inordinate amount of time making sure that things work really well. Those that use the platform today are familiar with how there are multiple steps to do billing today, and how it can be complex, and how for some people it is actually difficult to grasp the concept of billing, especially if you're not a biller and you are trying to get billing done. And what we chose to do here was simplify billing to a point that it is so easy and such that someone who's not even a biller should be able to manage sending billing out. And so the first step we took was we said, look, we got to have a much more sophisticated validation process which catches any bad billing records from getting past the door. And so the validation process goes through and has a slew of items that it validates, and it verifies that anything that might trigger a failure in billing is going to get caught here. Now, I'm going to, for demo purposes, right at the bottom one where it says, please enter a UMPI number. Well, we have that here for demo purposes. The reality is the system wouldn't have let you get this far without having a valid number, but we just put this in just for demo purposes. So in this scenario, you would go click on the employee profile, go in and look at the MA number, edit it, make the changes that are necessary so that you have a valid MA number, and you can go back and revalidate this claim so that you can then get past that error. And now, so that's how you fix validation errors. And whatever the validation errors are, that's what the biller has to focus on. But when you go into the next step, which is transactions, transactions has all the claims that are ready to go out, as well as claims that went out and the payer has given you a status on those claims. So in this particular case, the very first claim is a claim that's going to deny. And the claim that's going to deny will, the payer has given us that information, or the payer has said this is going to pay. So if it's a claim that's going to deny, you can open that up and then go fix it and clean it up and then resubmit it. Figure out what the denial was and then fix that and send it out. If it's going to pay, okay, great, you're going to wait for the remit. But here's the best part, and this is one of the biggest innovations that we have come up with, and that took us a while to figure out, and that is, you see those three claims at the bottom. These three claims, essentially, in normal course of business, you would say, let's select all these three claims and then say send to payer, the button on the right side. And so somebody on a bi-weekly basis is going to go through here, come and find the claims. First of all, fix all the validation errors, and come through here and say, okay, what claims are ready to send, and then select those claims and then send it out. But what we did was we said, look, we got to simplify this further, and we came up with the concept of continuous billing. And this button right here, continuous claims, by selecting continuous claims, what happens is the system doesn't hold the claims in the transaction status. If a transaction is valid and there are no errors, and if it was an EVV transaction and there are no errors, then the system will automatically bill that every day. So as claims come through, if everything is valid, service agreement is valid, units are available, MA number is good, the eligibility is fine. If all the things are valid, because that's what the validation checks are, if everything is good, then it's going to continuously bill it. What this means is, as an agency owner, you're going to look at your dashboard on a nightly basis and know that transactions have been happening throughout the day, and it is being billed on a daily basis. And all the biller has to do is to go look at claims that will not pass validation and that are sitting in the validation failed status, and fix that. Anything that is, I mean, let's think about it. Most of your claims are going to go through. So why does a biller have to worry about that? The biller has to worry about the ones that are not going to go through and then fix it. This is a great example of the system doing the thinking for you and acting on your behalf and reducing your workload. And this, I believe this is a game changer for this industry. The medical community has been doing something similar to this for years, but no one is doing this in this industry, in the home and community-based services, in a manner that makes it easy for, especially home and community-based service providers who essentially need the cash on a regular basis to make sure that they meet payroll and their obligations. And having the ability to have accurate and timely billing is really important. claims denied. Let's take a look at that. Hopefully you don't have any here because the system is actually catching and you're not sending claims out that should be denied. But in the event that you have a denial, you have the ability to go through, look at the necessary information, and then turn around and rebuild the claim or write it off, however you want to handle it. And finally, all the claims that are finalized will come out here. You have all the details you want, and you can do reporting on this to your heart's content. So that's good. So now we've gone through time entry, we've looked at validation, we've looked at how you send claims out, and one final thing, let's just look at payroll. Pretty straightforward. Any payroll information that's necessary, you specify a pay period, pick a pay period, start and end date, and the system will generate the necessary payroll records. You can then download that data and send it to your payroll provider. Pretty straightforward, and it's something that's needed, and the data comes out in a format that you can then adjust as necessary. And we'll also have multiple formats for the multiple payroll providers that most of our customers work with. Now, let's talk about personalization of the platform. See, when you have a platform and you work in it day in, day out, it would be nice to have the platform be personalized to that agency and the clients you serve and the employees that work for your agency. And we've gone to great lengths to personalize the platform so that it is one that is specific to you, and it uses this. It has the capability to manage the access you provide for various roles within the agency. Some bigger agencies have multiple roles. Smaller agencies tend to have fewer people wearing multiple hats. Let's take, for example, a biller. A biller might have access to certain things, but may not have access to other things. But guess what? If the biller is also a scheduler and does a variety of other things, no problem. Let's just add that capability to that biller, so that now the biller has scheduling capability, and all of this can be managed by you, the agency, and you can handle it without having to come back to us. We believe in self-service. Things that we were not able to do in our current platform, we've made it possible in the new platform. So, and we have the ability to change access control to pretty much any data element, right down to the field level, and say either can someone see it or not see it, or can see it and edit it, and all of that is configurable. Now that is on a technical level, but on a visual and on a daily use level, one of the things that people really like to see is use terminology that is meaningful to them. And first of all, you could there are multiple languages. Let's pick Spanish, and all the labels can be switched to Spanish, and the whole platform becomes a Spanish-based platform. Let's go back to English. So right now we have a couple of languages, but we'll add languages that people request, and then the whole platform will have labels based in that particular language. Let's say, for example, you want to change client to DSP, or let's pick this one. How about on the left-hand side you see billing and financials. That is a label. That's how I may call it, billing and financials, but you might call it financials. Fine, modify that, and now as a user, I think you might have to log out and log back in, Peter. When you log back in, Peter types a lot faster than I do. That's the reason he's driving and not me. When you log back in, as you can see on the left side, the label has been changed. Similar to this, there are over 1,200 labels across the platform that can be changed to suit how you refer to certain things within your organization, so that everybody, so you're not walking around calling them employees when you are, what you call them is DSPs. So if you do, here's where you would change it. Now, that was customization. You didn't get to see the dashboard because we dived right into a client profile, but here is a dashboard. This dashboard, in this particular case, Peter is a admin for the agency, so he's got every imaginable tile and he can add more. But if you're a biller, you're just going to see the biller's dashboard. Can you just mouse over some of these things to see how interactive some of the dashboard elements are? The dashboard allows you to get pertinent information right up in front of you so that you can see what's important to you. If you're a biller and you need to look at revenue, or you need to look at how much went out in billings today and how many are stuck in verification, great, you can look at that. If you are the agency owner, you want to see the dollars that have been brought in and how much services has been provided but hasn't been billed. That may be the information you want to look at. Each one of these tiles can be customized and the right information provided. Now, not only do we give you that capability, you can also go in here and export any of that data you want. You want that in a CSV file, you want that in an HTML file, however you want that, you can take that data out so that you can do other analysis if you want to. So this provides some general dashboard and reporting capability. But for those that love analytics and want to dive into a lot of detail, we have a completely separate but full-fledged analytics package that allows you to do just about any type of analytics you want. You can create your own queries, build your own graphs, slice it and dice it the way you want. Here's an example of some client information you can pull up. You can look at financial information, client information, employee information, the confluence of all of that together if you wanted to. Here's something that Peter is building as we speak. And these are things that you can drag, drop, and create and build so that you can have your own set of data and analytics that serves your agency's purpose. Not 80% of our customers don't look for this, but there are the 20% that go real deep and they ask for custom reports and custom reporting capability. And what we would do is turn around and say, hey, use this, and then to your heart's content, you can go out there and do a number of things that would allow you to create the reports that you need and the information you need out of the system. So let's see. So we've covered analytics. We've gone through a variety of the administration, and it's covered schedules. Okay, very good. Let's see. Should we do some questions? Well, you know what? Let's actually, before we jump to the questions, let's go. Let's just. I think I've got a couple more slides here. Let's see. You've gone through and you've seen what the platform looks like. Let's talk about some of the highlights. Here are the highlights that we covered. The service agreement automation, I think that is huge for agencies, simplifying how service agreements are entered. Can save you a lot of time and reduce the number of errors. The ability to do continuous billing, I think this is huge, and for agency owners, it's a great way to keep the finger on the pulse and know and address issues before they arise, and have a much better financial picture, and on a daily basis understand if problems are creeping up and stay ahead of that. Preference matching, I think that is going to help not just today when you're looking to find a caregiver for a client, but imagine in the choice world, if a client has a family member as a caregiver and requires services but doesn't have someone else, imagine if you could open it up so that they can put out a request saying, hey, here's who I am, here are my preferences, and the system matches available caregivers and says, here are 3 people in your area who could potentially provide care, and then connect the 2 of them together. Wouldn't that be awesome? And wouldn't that be helpful for people that who's in bed, get out, doesn't have a family member around and they could access to care. And this is like, you know, Uber for caregiving, but built into the platform so that you can help the caregiver, the client self-serve. And that, I think, is in this world of caregiver shortage, I think that's an important thing for us to consider. Document management, we touched on it. We have extensive capabilities in document management. We have, you know, we sort of bolted on some capabilities in the legacy, in our current platform, to be able to do some documents, but this has been built from the ground up. The ability to map any field in the system is built from the ground up. The ability to store as many documents as you want, and have all of that kept for a period of time, establish document retention policies, and then archive documents. Those are the kind of things that we are looking at when we say document management. We talked about personalization. It's not just a tool, it's not just generic, it is personalized to your organization, and you can make it work for you. And that's important, because the tool is not the focus here. The people that you serve is the focus, and make the tool work for you and personalize it to do work the way you do work, and that's important. And finally, enforced workflow. And enforced workflow, I believe, is the cornerstone of error-free agency management. We've designed the system such that the information you capture and the information going through the system is checked and double checked, and we make sure that by the time you get to payment, that you don't have issues. We believe fixing errors upstream is what the real answer is. And if we make sure that you enter information correctly, and we double check it when you enter it, then by the time you get to doing transactions, and whether it is scheduling or whether it is billing or payroll, all things would work smoothly, because this enforced workflow is ensured that you've got the right data at the right place. So these are the platform highlights. Let's go through that. It seems like there are a number of questions. Let's go through and cover some of the questions. Well, before we cover questions, let's talk about some timelines. I'm eager to do questions here. All right, timelines. Let's talk about what we've accomplished. Look, building a platform of this complexity and caliber takes a lot of work. What we've built is all the foundational components, which we call the care management framework, and we've built that out, and that allows for any service to be stood up on top of that platform. And what we did was we said, let's do PCA services. We got that up and running. It's available today. Next month, we'll have 245D basic services, and that will be available, and now you can provide 245D basic services. And then throughout the year, we're going to be adding other services, as you can see, behavioral health, residential day and employment services, and so on. And the idea is we are trying to do as much as we can, as quickly as we can. But now that we have the core platform built, adding services is like Lego blocks. Just add service after service. We have a service definition concept. We define the service, we add it on top. Everything else underneath stays the same, whether it's billing, whether it's scheduling, whether it's payroll, all that stays the same. The service definition file defines how each one of those components will work. This type of architecture allows us to build not just services we know of today, but services that we don't know of, and the ones that DHS can dream up and come up with, will be able to build without much difficulty, because the platform's capable of doing it. All right, now questions. I was eager to jump into questions. Let's see. We have a few questions here. Let's start with this question from Dave. What resources will we use if we need help? Will that be CashAU? No, it won't be CashAU. What we have is a whole help system built into the platform. There's a variety of steps and variety of questions that if you had needed answers to, it's already built into the platform. You'll be able to go through here and receive a self-serve for help without having to go to CashAU. CashAU, we didn't have a way to provide help within the legacy platform, the current platform, and we had to build that outside. But the person who builds and creates this, she's very talented, and she will build the new help system, and she's already got a number of them done, a number of items done, and she'll continue to work on more. So your help is going to come out of the platform itself, as well as you can call and email as well. Okay. Second, Katie, is Pavilion going to run on the same servers as Cache? No, it's not. Those of you who've been with us for a while, you've hung in there as we evolved our platform and our technology and our servers. The servers are, this is old architecture that our legacy platform, our current technology is on. But Pavilion is built in the cloud. It's a Amazon Web Services. It is completely architected with auto scaling capability, which means the servers are virtual. As we need more servers, the system automatically detects the workload and says, I need to add another server, and it spawns up another server, and it'll increase the capacity. So when we say it's infinitely scalable, we mean infinitely scalable, because we can add as much capacity as we want dynamically without having to worry about, hey, which server are you on and how many people are on it, and so on and so forth. So we don't need to do that. And the best thing is, this is all HIPAA compliant, fully secure, far more secure than what we can make our servers be, because the technology, Amazon has over 550 engineers working on security and compliance, and they can certainly do a better job than we can trying to do it on our own. So these guys, it gives me a lot of comfort knowing that we can put your data in such a secure environment. Let's see. Can the client sign intake forms directly in Pavilion? Yes, that's a question from Hesham. Yes, you can, and we forgot to show you that essentially you can take a device, go into a client's, you can take a tablet, go into a client's house and do a intake, do a care plan, and have the care plan signed by the client on the device, and have that recorded. So all of that is saved right into the platform. You don't need to go anywhere else. It's native to the platform, and it's not a external PDF or something. It is built right into the platform. Great questions. Thank you. Don asked the question, will this import service agreements for clients who have been DC'd or terminated? Nope, you have to first be a client who is active for the service agreement to actually be pulled through. And so we're not going to pull in service. First of all, the client has to exist within your system. Second, the client has to be active. And then the system will connect the incoming service agreement to that client. Kevin asked a question, will it recognize if there are two essays for the same range? Thankfully, yes, and I was trying to do some testing the other day, and I tried to load an essay with the same range, and it yelled at me, and yes, it does not let you overlap essays. And in fact, there are a number of checks and balances here to make sure that service agreements and care plans and ending of service agreements, restarting of a service agreement, all of that we put a lot of thought into, and have a lot of ways to make sure that you don't set it up incorrectly, which could result in a number of issues downstream. So that's an area we spent quite a bit of time on. Sarah asked the question, what is the difference between the ready and will pay status? A good question, Sarah, and I was not very clear in my explanation. The will pay and will deny are statuses that come back when you, so say you had a bunch of transactions that went to the payer. Our system will talk to the payer and get the status of those submissions and tell you, even before a remit comes back, that, hey, you sent 100 claims, 98 of them are going to pay, but here are the 2 that are going to deny. And if they're going to deny, and you know it's going to deny, but the remit hasn't come out yet, but you know it's going to deny, you can open up those transactions and then fix them and resend them so that you can have 100% of your claims pay, because you knew about it before the remit came back. And this status notification can greatly improve cash flow for you. Thanks for asking that question. Let's see. Chad asked the question, how long will the current platform be used for billing before it becomes obsolete? The real answer, Chad, is as soon as we can move you off of the current platform, and as soon as we can get everybody off, we will sunset the current platform. But it all really depends on when we can get the service definitions done and people moved over from the current platform to the new platform. And Katie asked a question, able to upload automatically to Waystar? Yes, 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 yes. And we will be able to send claims to non-MA directly, and you don't have to do an export file and upload it. You know, architecturally, we did a number of things. This is another one of those things where we have built it very solidly, and that is the interaction with payers and how we send information back and forth is far more sophisticated, and it will allow you to send information, send claims out, whether it's Waystar today, tomorrow, if it's a different payer, we have the capability to configure that and send it out. And this is a big important part of the redesign of our billing engine. Let's see. Let's see. We have time for maybe one more question. What does the name Pavilion mean? Thanks for asking that question. And you know, this is one of these things that's near and dear to my heart. We looked at various names, and in today's congested URLs and unavailability of names, we needed to come up with something that made sense. And Pavilion came about because, you know, we looked at this concept of communities that come together to serve people. In olden days, that was a thing that happened. In the middle of the community, you had a pavilion, and people came together to help each other out. And we saw that as a way to describe what we do. And what we have built is the pavilion, in the middle of which is the person who receives care, and the rest of us come together to provide services for the person receiving care, and we call that Pavilion. Okay, I think that's all the questions we had. We're up on our hour. Let's see, a couple of other things. We will. There are a few other questions that are still pending. We're going to assemble those questions and we're going to send them out to you. If you also, this webinar is recorded. You're going to get a link to this recording. You can share it with your co-workers as well as other agencies, and send it to a competitor too if you want to. I'll be glad when they use us as the gold standard and copy us. So the recordings are available. We'll answer questions, and we'll also well, I guess the slide deck is within the. We also send out, I think, the access to a slide deck. So the slide deck is also available. And finally, there is a set of questions at the end of the webinar. Please spend 30 seconds and give us some feedback. I hope you enjoyed our presentation. We certainly are very excited about the platform and very open to ideas on where we can improve as people start to come on board with the platform and start using it. We'll keep everyone informed, as well as we'll keep you posted on the progress of the platform. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Really appreciate the time, and stay safe out there. Have a good afternoon.